Welcome to Stay Alive and Fit with Liz Goodman, a new innovative radio show that taps into what's happening now in the medical industry, featuring fitness experts, foodies, and medical professionals from Tenet Health with breaking medical news from David DePino. Get it right here and be an active participant in your health. Mixed messages about what is best for your health can make you feel like you're on a runaway train. So hop on and have some fun while Liz navigates this medical mystery ride. Call 888-565-1470 and ask Liz, your source for the latest medical technology and long life advice. All aboard. Here's Liz Goodman.
Hi, and welcome to Stay Alive and Fit with Liz Goodman. I'm your host, Liz Goodman. And I want to call into our show at 888-565-1470. That's 888-565-1470. Or watch us live on www.amp2.tv. That's AMP, the number 2.tv. A for Apple, M for Mary, P for Peter, the number 2.tv. And of course, as we do every week, and this is going into our fourth week now, I have David DePino. David DePino, I'm so sorry. He's with Tenet, Florida Physician Services. He's a PR specialist, and he has some exciting breaking news about AFib, a new procedure that's being offered. That's very exciting, especially if you listen to last week's show. We had the heartthrob singing Dr. Vasquez talking about AFib with my dear old dad who's been suffering from AFib. And this week, we have a really wonderful opportunity to meet with a woman whose name is Dr. Vivian Sanchez. She's bilingual. She's a holistic nurse practitioner. She's going to explain all about what a nurse practitioner is, how it's different from a doctor, and what sex is when it comes to geriatrics. And I whisper when I say sex, but, that's the point. Is it true that if we don't use it, we lose it? I mean, that's kind of one of the questions we're going to ask her. There's a lot of fun, exciting things that are going to happen on the show. We actually have a Pilates expert on the show as well. She's going to be calling in and telling us all about ways that Pilates can help you if you have AFib or just to enhance your sex life if you are geriatric. Well, I hate the term geriatric, but if you're over a certain age and you're still engaging in sex, different ways that maybe Pilates can help make that happen, stretch you out, keep you limber, keep you fit, make it last longer. I don't know, maybe a little bit help without the Viagra. We'll see. So as you guys know, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. The sight of blood makes me squeal. I'm just an ordinary gal trying to navigate through the maze of all the ways I can stay focused and feel fabulous at almost 50. That's right, guys, almost 50, another year away from me, year and a half, actually. And I feel like, a lot of things are changing in my body, and I'm trying to learn about them. And with Obamacare, I don't have the same health insurance that I used to have once a long time ago. I have to have referrals. I have to wait weeks for approvals to see specialists. So I wanted to do this show as a way to help you get VIP treatment. It's like VIP medical information for the masses. I want everybody to be able to have an opportunity to call in and ask Liz, that's me, at 888-565-1470 or email me at liz@stayaliveandfit.com or check us out on Facebook or on my new website, which is also www.stayaliveandfit.com, and ask me any questions that you want to find out, but you just don't want to wait to see your doctor, or you don't want to wait till you're approved to see that doctor, and write into us, and we will actually get those people on the show to try to help you get your medical questions answered. So whether you're 20 or 80, male or female, mixed messages about what's best for your health can make you feel like you're on a runaway train. So get on board and take a medical ride with me, and we will stop at every station to get the answers you seek. So get on board. Don't forget, give us a call, and hurry up. If you're an old broad and a dirty old man, you might want to listen to this episode of Stay Alive and Fit, because we're going to let you figure out how to be a young old broad and a less dirty but still sexy hot old man. These are commonly used terms that people are speaking these days about older people who are interested in sex. And I personally don't love the term geriatric. I think it's got a negative connotation. I don't love the term dirty old man. I don't love the term old broad. But these are what we use these days when we talk about people that reach a certain age. And I think none of us really like to think about our grandmas having sex. And what's worse is our grandmas are having sex and getting syphilis having sex. So there's some crazy stuff going on out there. And what I like about our guest today is that she's a holistic nurse practitioner. So she's going to give us some information about holistic things that we can do to help ourselves and better ourselves in all aspects of our life. So we're going to go to a quick break, and then we're going to kick to David, and he's going to give us this breaking news that I'm excited to hear about, and then we'll have a call-in from this Pilates instructor. So please stay tuned.
Stay Alive and Fit is your weekly dose of information about health, wealth, fitness, or food, so you can live longer, age gracefully, and stay alive and fit. Stay tuned. Liz will be right back. Don't turn that dial, or you just might miss this week's Healthy Hot Tip. Statistics state 1 in 4 people are bullied. I believe that everyone at some time in their life is bullied or intimidated by another. Why are some devastated by it and others just shrug it off? It all lies in their personal value. Bully-proofing you is all about building your personal value. It is about a decision you make and action you take. You must decide you are valuable. Stop letting others define you. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Victor E. Frank. Start choosing to believe in yourself and your value. Jeannie Cisco Meth can give you the tools needed to change your life, to bully-proofing yourself and your family. Her live one-day training will transform your future into the life you have always wanted. To purchase your tickets, go to www.bullyproofingyou.com/products and start creating your phenomenal future.
That's like a really cool, exciting train ride that I'm on today. It's a very long intro today, and I'm loving it. And we're here with David Tapino, who's going to give us this exciting new information from Tenet about AFib and how there's a new procedure. I'm excited to hear about it.
Definitely. Good evening, Liz.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, thank you for having me back. So atrial fibrillation, when I interview patients who are telling their story, they kind of, the one thing that they tell me always, it feels like there's a bird in my chest and it's fluttering. So one of the things, the way to get rid of them is obviously a cardiac ablation, which we've all heard of. It's a burning of the inside of the heart to burn the heart back in rhythm, to treat the heart arrhythmia. Well, those are great, but what I'm learning in my adventures in, healthcare every day I'm out there doing PR is a lot of times cardiac ablations don't work the first time. So there's a new convergent procedure that we have at Tenet Florida Physician Services called the convergent procedure, and it involves a cardiothoracic surgeon going in from the outside of the heart, minimally invasive, treating the outside of the heart, and then a cardiac electrophysiologist, we talked a little bit before about that, is an electrician of the heart. They're treating the inside of the heart both ways, so the chances of having the heart arrhythmia come back or need another cardiac ablation is minimal. Now, this is a one-day procedure. Normally, it's normally just for observation. They're kept in the hospital, so that's really good. And the 3 patients that I've interviewed told me, David, there's no pain. The only thing I woke up in the hospital, I had no discomfort. Is the only thing they kept me for observation for a few hours.
That's really cool, because I know one of the things with my dad, his biggest fear was going in for the surgery and that risk of going under anesthesia and just that all not knowing. And this sounds like it's much less invasive. It's much more acceptable and accessible, and maybe people won't be as afraid to make that step necessary to actually get it done.
Definitely, and it's normally done after one cardiac ablation is already done. However, they are going straight to the convergent procedure in certain situations. Obviously, you don't want to do many procedures over and over, but if the cardiac ablation doesn't work, this is the next step that has a really good chance of stopping the heart arrhythmia, which isn't normally in most cases fatal, but it's annoying. It's that up and down, the fluttering in your
That fluttering
chest.
pain.
Yeah, and people, they really want it done. People who have it, like, they can't wait to get it done and fixed.
How do they find out more about it?
You can go to tenantfloridaphysicianservices.com, or you can contact Dr. David Weissman, Dr. Matthew Klein, and Dr. Neil Galindez. Those are our 3 physicians in Palm Beach County that are doing this procedure. And you can find them also at tfpsdocs.com. They have a whole profile there. We have 165 physicians listed on that website.
Is there a phone number for the doctors you want to give out?
Right now, I don't have that in front of me. Yes, I do. I'm sorry. I flipped my card here, my cheat card. 1-866-654-2362. Or online at Florida Atrial Fib. That's FloridaAtrialFib.com.
Wow, that's a mouthful. Was this a relatively new procedure?
The convergent procedure, it hasn't been done in the mainstream, so it was obviously tested for years. But it's a new procedure in the last few years that is doing outside of FDA approval. So it's to the general public now.
Great. Thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate it. Do you want to give us a little insight as to what's coming up next week? We can talk about that later, but just a little teaser?
Yeah, definitely. Like I've said, the last few weeks, we've had a team of orthopedic surgeons start in Broward County. So I'm definitely looking to have them on. They each specialize in a different specialty. One's hip and knee, one's foot and ankle, and one is knee and shoulder. So I'm definitely looking to have them on. They're the Florida Institute of Orthopedic Surgical Specialists. But my one I'm trying to have on is Dr. Matthew Goodwin, who's the plastic surgeon around the corner at the sanctuary here at Yamato and Federal in Boca Raton.
And all the ladies in Boca are going to not want to miss that one. And I've been talking, on with my tweeting with Charlie Partridge.
Yeah, coach of FAU.
And he has promised he's going to be coming on. So maybe when we schedule that orthopedic, we can talk about some, sports and athletics and get some hot, chunky football players in here to talk about, not chunky, but sexy football players to talk about some knee injuries.
There's a lot of injuries with cheerleaders. Women's soccer has a lot of injuries.
Absolutely.
I'm seeing. So, yeah, we get the orthopedic surgeons on and tie it in right, with the right specialty.
That would be great. So now I hear we have a caller on the line. Let me see if she's on the line. I'm going to tell you who she is. She is with a new Pilates. Well, not a new Pilates place, but she called in. She's a Pilates instructor. And her name is Cheryl. Cheryl, you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Cheryl. Can you introduce yourself? Tell me who you are, where you work, and the reason for your call.
Well, we are Lentz Pilates. We're in Pineapple Grove in Delray Beach. That's on 2nd Avenue, just a couple of blocks north of Atlantic Avenue. And we've been there 9 years. Is a full-service Pilates studio with the Pilates equipment. And so we work privately there with our students, and we also have small group classes and, duos. We have a lot of couples that come in. We're all ages. We have high school students, and we also have some of our students are over 80 years old.
So I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
You're calling in. You have students. You hear that the show is about geriatrics. Is that was the reason for the call? And you have some information about geriatrics and Pilates?
Yes, and right. I think that Pilates is so popular now with older 70 people in their 70s and 80s because it is so safe and it is so smart. And I think that, with talking about AFib as you were, it kind of all connects with that because it just makes you feel good without some of the delayed muscle onset soreness that you have maybe doing some other exercise programs where you can't really do that after, the AFib procedures in all cases. Sometimes people haven't exercised for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And when they realize that to get healthy again or to stay healthy and strong, they have to do something. I think Pilates is just a very good entry into maybe many other different forms of exercise that they might do, but they need to get started in a very smart, safe way. And I think that's what Pilates, one of the big reasons that Pilates is so popular now.
Is it similar to yoga?
Everything. yoga. Well, see, yoga and Pilates are very similar in many ways, but I think the two biggest differences is Pilates has a lot of equipment that trains people to do things in a perfect alignment. It also helps to execute the moves, whereas Pilates on a mat is much more similar to yoga on a mat. But in our studio, we have a lot of very high-end equipment that, like the reformer, which many people know about the reformer. Some people do not know about the Cadillac.
I have no idea what sorry to interrupt you, Cheryl, but I have never heard of the reformer because I've never actually done Pilates. So I'm sure a lot of our listeners don't have any idea what Pilates is. So if you could just tell me very quickly in one sentence, like what is Pilates, what is the reformer, and how can it help a geriatric maybe be more limber if they wanted to get back into the sex game?
Well, okay, fine. The reformer works with ropes and handles that you pull against the resistance of springs. Instead of heavy, weights at the ends of the hands, which sometimes, can be a little dangerous or more difficult for them, you lie down actually on a reformer in doing some of the moves. You don't always lie down. We can stand on it, we can kneel on it, we can sit on it, but it's a matter of pulling against a resistance, which are springs, and springs are very safe. They'll only go as far as a person can pull them, and that's why it will work for all ages. It was developed by the man, Joseph Pilates, 80, 90 years ago. It is still built, the way it was then. It has endured all through, these years as being a very good way to align the body perfectly when executing movements. As far as the strength, certainly as far as the sex goes, as you were talking about, flexibility is very important, but so is strength of the pelvic, girdle and the thigh muscles and the glute muscles and abdominal muscles. So, but I also think that Pilates makes you feel so good about your posture and your balance and your, the way that you present yourself. Usually Pilates people have such nice posture. Their backs are stronger. They stand up with confidence. And I think all of that has an awful lot to do with sex that you're talking about, because you just feel so much better about yourself. So obviously you are going to be stronger through exercise, and you're going to be more flexible.
Well, it also sounds like you're going to be able to get into positions you otherwise wouldn't be able to get into if you hadn't been in that Pilates gym.
Well, that's a given. That's definitely true. There's a lot more to it than that, but it's a very safe, smart way to exercise. It is mindful, as yoga is. You do think and focus on what you're doing. It's mind over body. Your mind tells your body what to do. So, we don't spend a lot of time talking about sex there while we're doing it, but there definitely is quite a connection to, to the confidence, I think.
Okay, well, Cheryl, why don't you tell us one more time your telephone number, how people can get in touch with you, and give your website address. And thank you so much for the call. Please tell your friends about Stay Alive and Fit as a great opportunity for them to learn more information about how they could stay alive and fit and learn about all the great tools they need to have a healthier, longer life.
Well, thank you very much. And our studio is Lens Pilates, and we have a very nice website, LENTSPILATES.com. Our phone number is 561-843-4617, and we're in beautiful Pineapple Grove in downtown Delray Beach in East Delray.
Great restaurants over there, too. It's kind of hard. Like, for me, I'd go over there, I'd go do a Pilates workout, then I'd go outside, I'd get fat, then I'd come back in and have to work out again.
Yeah, it kind of works that way there. There's an awful lot of restaurants up and down the street.
And Pineapple Grove is almost hipper and cooler than like Delray in Atlantic Avenue these days. It seems to be like spreading in that direction.
Well, so then you've been there, because that's exactly true. I mean,
love it there.
Everybody walks up and down our avenue now.
Absolutely. All right, Cheryl, it's been a pleasure. We look forward to hearing from you again sometime. Please pass the word along to your friends. And if you have any questions for our nurse practitioner, you can email them to us or, contact us on Facebook. And we look forward to seeing or hearing from you again in the future.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Bye. So, David, what did you think about Cheryl's information about Pilates? Do you think that's really, I don't know a lot about Pilates. I'm more of a yoga girl, but
Me too. I did a yoga boot camp once for a week, but I've
I
never
did
done
too.
Pilates. So I live 2 miles from Pineapple Grove, and I was listening the whole time, and I'm going to go over there and check it out. 'Cause
Cool.
I love Pineapple Grove. I'd love to just, give back to those businesses in that area because, like you said, it's a cool area off of Atlantic Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always something I want to learn more about and find out what it is exactly.
So I'm going to now introduce, we're going to kick it to a commercial in a second, but I want to introduce our nurse practitioner who's coming up. I mentioned her earlier. Her name is Dr. Vivian Sanchez, Dr. Vivian Carter-Sanchez. She is her board certification is American Nurses Credentialing Center. She's a nurse practitioner. She specializes in internal medicine, geriatrics, and holistic well-being. And, one of the reasons I brought her on the show and wanted her to be on the show is because I really wanted to let our listeners know how nurse practitioners are very, very important in the medical industry these days. And in some ways, they know us better. They are better able to treat us and help us. And I know when I first moved here and I heard, would you like to see the nurse practitioner instead of the doctor? I said, no. Why would I want to do that? I'm paying to see the doctor. Like I was a doctor snob. But I realized that nurse practitioners do have a doctorate. They're very smart. And sometimes they're much more intuitive and actually better able to evaluate us as a whole than our doctors are, who are more specialized. So I think it's an interesting topic. I'm very excited to meet with her. And, before I get to her, I'm always bringing it back to sex. I can't help it. But I was reading an article about people that have sex live longer. Apparently, Dr. Bortzman, he's a professor at Stanford Medical Center and the American president of the American Geriatric Society in the past. He said people that have sex do live longer. Married people live longer. People need people. And the more intimate the connection, the more powerful the effects. So what I was saying is, we need to figure out a way that the rest of us can understand and relate and be okay with geriatrics having sex. Because I think as soon as we think about that, we think about grandma in a rocking chair and what's going to happen. And it just kind of grosses us out, makes us go, who? Ew, not who and ew. But the reality is the rates of sexually transmitted disease have doubled among 50 to 90-year-olds in the past decade. And 80% of people over the age of 60 are still having sex. 20% of those people, from what I read, are having better sex than they ever had their entire life. And there's a lot of reasons behind it. I think psychological reasons, as well as the fact that they're taking drugs like Viagra, which are just making them hornier. But, these are all questions that we can get answered by our specialist who's coming up right after this next commercial break. Stay alive, stay fit, and stay tuned. We'll be right back.
In today's world, only the elite receive the very best care or advice. Stay alive and fit with Liz Goodman is like VIP MD for the masses. Ask Liz medical and fitness questions live on the air. Call us at 888-565-1470 and tell us what you want to learn more about. Tune in for a sneak peek each week from David DePino, PR specialist for Tenet Florida Physician Services, a division of Tenet Health. Dave will tell you breaking medical news prior to its release. Hear it first on Stay Alive and Fit before it hits the presses. So listen for 60 minutes or miss it in a minute. Mondays on Talk Radio WNN 1470 or watch us on amp2.tv.
Doesn't it make you want to dance a little bit? I mean, honestly, it's ironic that the music is on here because I used to be in a different studio at iHeart Studios, which was in West Palm Beach, and it was very quiet in the studio, but it was a big place. And this is a small place, and there's a train station. We're on Dixie Highway, so there's a train station right behind us. So every so often, I hear the train going by.
Yeah, that was perfect.
So I'm hearing the outside train, I'm hearing the inside train, and I'm trying to get everybody to jump on board my train. So I don't know. It's a sign from above.
Definitely. It's good.
So,
Thank
welcome
you.
to the show, Dr. Sanchez. First of all, I just want to say you're an internal medicine and geriatrics nurse practitioner. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, they can call you at 561-697-3131. You've been in practice since 2001. You speak both English and Spanish. And you have a lot of expertise. You have a lot of things next to your name: ARNP, DNP. I don't know what all
Which
those
adds to
things
the
mean.
confusion that sometimes we have when you mentioned earlier about being a nurse practitioner and the kinds of things that we do. And I'm sure many of your listeners probably have had that question asked to them, and they're like, "What?" So there's a lot of concerns that we don't address everything the doctor does, but we are highly trained. We are, we've got higher degrees, and as my discipline of nursing allows me to be say I'm a doctor, but I do what nurses do, which is take care
I'm
of
sorry to
people.
interrupt you, Doc. I'm being told by my producer that you need to move the
Oh,
microphone
sorry
closer
about
to your
that.
mouth.
Okay.
It's okay. We're great doctors, but we're not always used to speaking in public. And I know you have spoken quite a bit in public, but radio is always kind of a funky thing. So just, I want my listeners to hear all the fabulous things you have to say. So tell me, again, what is the main difference between a nurse practitioner, and seeing your doctor, and why would somebody actually sometimes get served better by seeing you instead of a doctor?
Nurse practitioners are advanced practice nurses that have gone through their program of nursing, and then they want to further their education and get a master's degree, or they get a doctorate degree. The doctorate of nursing came about 10 years ago, and so I went ahead and got that several years ago. And it's doctorate level, so your discipline finishes at that level, but our degree allows us to take care of patients from a primary care point of view. You'll see a lot of us in specialized care, in cardiac, cardiologist's office. You'll see us in dermatology offices. We're nurse practitioners are all over the place in different specialized. But in my particular case, I'm primary care. So I take care of people from the ground up. So what I like the people to feel is when they come to my office that they're feeling they're at home, and they can share with me how they are living in their life, how their life is going. And so we get into everything with them. So I feel like my office is a place where they can relax, share with me their thoughts and their concerns about their health and their living and how they're prospering in the world.
But do you do full exams? So, like, I have actually had, like, when I went and saw my gynecologist and she couldn't squeeze me in, they were like, well, you can have an appointment with a nurse practitioner. And I was kind of like, I don't know. But I did, and it was fine, and she was even better. And not better, but different. Like, I felt comfortable. She asked me questions that my doctor didn't necessarily think of. And so is that kind of like you can actually examine a patient and
we
work
go
with
through
them?
the same setup as a physician would. I mean, we go through the top to bottom, from head to toe. We examine you, and depending on the focus of the meeting, what we're talking about, and we'll go from there. But yeah, we do physical exams, we do diagnostic testings, we order lab work, we follow through with medications if we need to prescribe.
Can you prescribe?
Medication. Oh yeah, we prescribe all pretty much throughout all the different branches of the medicine that are around for different medical conditions. But
So how many years of schooling do you have as compared to a doctor or a nurse?
well, a nurse, basically you can be a nurse in 2 years or 4 years, depending on what school you went to. But I have about an 8-year program of study, and then, which includes clinicals as well. So we're also out there in hospitals and in clinics when we get our training. So it's about 8 years in total.
And a doctor is normally about?
I think a doctor, they have about 8 years, and then they do a residency. So their program is quite long. And, of course, depending on what their specialty is going to be. So that requires them to have other, maybe some other, attention to certain clinical aspects. But
So I'm curious, is it, if you're going to be in school for 8 years, why choose nurse practitioning instead of a doctor? What would be the reason behind that choice? Is it because it's slightly less? Is it because it's more intimate? Is it because?
Well, it is a degree that you can sort of use it you can become a nurse and be a nurse for 4 or 5 years, decide, and then make a decision on where you want to if you want to further your education. So if, let's say, you're not sure if you want to be a physician and go through that whole program of study, and you want to try to feel it out, see how it goes. And so then you can try that, and then further your education if you decide to do that later. So that's what I did. I did that for a few years, and then decided to keep going with my education. That's how I ended up
Okay,
that,
so let's get down to the nitty gritty. I hear that you specialize in holistic medicine. I want to first understand that holistic means whole and what that means holistic and how you apply that in sort of practical matters in geriatric care. And then tell me a little bit about all this hot information that we're hearing about this, these hot, sexy geriatrics and what's going on in the world of sex as we're aging and what we should look out for.
Wonderful question, Liz. The holistic means that the person is seen from their emotional, physical, spiritual well-being, and it's about health. It's a process of health. It's not about focusing on disease rather than but health. Health from a perspective of feeling good, feeling satisfied with your life, and moving forward in a hopeful way. So it's about looking at a person from an angle, sort of like from all different angles. And the person becomes a very unique, first of all, very complex, and very special.
So if I came into you and I had a pain in my stomach, and I went to go see my internal medicine doctor because I had a pain in my stomach, and his exam would be a certain way. But if I was wanting him to look at me holistically versus from a medicinal aspect, what would that mean for me specifically? How would I be treated differently or examined differently?
Yeah, and well, they would be looking at what's going on in your life. What stresses are you having? What are your concerns? What's bugging you? Are you sleeping well at night? Are you worried about something? What's going on with you? Are you having pain? Because sometimes pain doesn't even come in there, and sometimes. So it would be a more of a whole approach, and we'd be asking, maybe. And the next step would be, well, what's going on with your kids? Sometimes it's not even anything about them; it's something happening with their kids.
I'm having a pain in my tuchus, which is tush,
yes,
and it's moving into my belly, but it's because my kids are driving me crazy.
Right.
Whereas a doctor might look at me and say, where's the pain coming from? Is it your appendixes? Is it your intestines? Right. Are you pooping okay? Right. You're looking at it and saying, psychologically, what's happening that's maybe causing the psychosomatic attack in my stomach, or maybe it's not psychosomatic, but it's just there might be alternative reasons for my pain other than something that's medically caused. Right. And so my doctor will look for the medical reason and you'll look for the psychological reason behind it.
Well, we do both, but we might have a little bit more time and maybe a little bit more of approach to look at those other aspects of the person's life and, from a nursing point of view, too.
Well, because the doctor's moving me in and out for the next patient, but you can have a little more time with me in your office.
Exactly. So we may have some more encounters that allow us to explore some of those other ideas. So that gives us the benefit of that approach. So.
And where's your office located?
We're on 5405 Okeechobee Boulevard in West Palm Beach, right off the turnpike. So it's pretty close to there.
And what is the median age of your patients there?
Well, I would say, I keep saying it keeps going up every year. Every year, it's probably about 75. That's probably the average age. But I tell when I'm telling with friends what kind of practices is, I'm like my age factor is becoming. I look at someone's old. They're 85, 90s, becoming, and every year it gets older.
Right. I understand.
So, what I'm seeing is people in their 90s are reaching. They're active, they're moving, they're traveling, they're doing all kinds of things, and I'm one to keep them doing that. That's what I want them to keep doing, Well, and that includes all the other things that you were mentioned earlier. So.
Which keeps leading me back to sexual intimacy among older or elder. I don't know. Is it older or elder? I mean, it's my elder, but they're older. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, so older Americans, it's a subject that people just don't like to talk about. It's kind of taboo. It's kind of ew and taboo. Yeah. And, we think of sex as like a young man's game. And, then, and then as you get older, men look for the younger girl to have sex with. And, it's all about youth. But the reality is, as you get older, you perfect things in life. So like anything else, I assume sex is one of the things that you perfect as you get older as well. And you see what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And with the invention of Viagra and medications and drugs like that, we are having rampant sex in these, from what I understand, these nursing homes are like dorm rooms. And, the nurses have to sort of go, hey, get back in your room. And there's syphilis and there's gonorrhea and like crazy, STDs that are happening in these old age homes, and
we have to talk about it because a lot of people. Older people think, well, they're immune to getting all kinds of the illnesses or anything like that, but we've got to talk about it and say that you're just as vulnerable to that as you were when you're 20s.
And more so, really, because you don't think that you have to wear protection, because when you're in your 20s, you wear protection not to get pregnant. Right. And so it's not just about, protecting yourself from an STD, but not getting pregnant. But when you're in your 70s, you're not thinking about getting pregnant. You're thinking about pleasure. And it's not that pleasurable if you're wearing protection to a lot of people. So I assume that they're just going ahead and, doing whatever and not thinking about it.
Exactly. So that's why we're seeing the increase in all these STDs as people are older. And it's contrary to what we would normally think, but it's happening. And so I have to be there to remind people and say, are you needing to protect yourself, be aware of these things so that you don't have a problem later on. So,
and I think what people don't realize, you think STDs, it affects you, in your vagina or your genitals, and the reality is STDs can affect you medically, cause neurological problems, cause mental issues, cause all sorts of problems. So if you're an older person and you have an STD, it can cause, major life problems for you. It's not just about a problem having sex. There's neurological and physiological and psychological things that come along with that. Can you give me an example as to what you treat patients for and what some of those issues are that you're finding happens?
Well, I mean, one is syphilis that can then directly go into your brain, but at that stage in life, if that happens, it's not an easy thing to count, to protect yourself against.
What do you mean it goes into your brain? I don't know anything about it.
The stage 3 of syphilis will actually affect your brain if it, you have mental problems.
Like what?
Like your memory, your whole cognition aspect. So it's a potential to affect you later on in life.
How is it different than having, I guess, Alzheimer's or just age-related, memory loss? How would you decipher that that's a result of syphilis versus?
It would require, a workup in the sense of going to a neurologist, getting further workups with an MRI, but doing blood tests. So it happens, and you may be affected. That's something that may have affected you earlier in life, and now it comes up later in life, or you get infected as a later in life. So it's something that to think about. So that would be another problem. Alzheimer's already 1 in 3 Americans, something like this, will be affected if they reach over 85 with Alzheimer's. So if you're going to add another...
Wait, 1 in 3 people are going to be affected with Alzheimer's versus just senility? What's the difference? I mean, I have a 96-year-old grandmother, a 97-year-old grandmother, 96-year-old grandfather. Both, they remember things more than I remember things, which is just crazy. But I also had a grandfather who died at around 90 who had Alzheimer's. And, so I'm very experienced with that illness, unfortunately. But I didn't realize that 1 in every 3 people have it. And how do they determine it's Alzheimer's versus, just simple aging?
Well, actually, it's a myth to think that memory loss is simple aging. There is a memory, maybe a little bit of slowing down, but memory loss is not part of aging. It's not a normal part of aging. So when you talk about, it's a very, very subtle approach, but thought process. But when you're saying memory loss in an older person, that's not a normal process. So I guess getting back to what we were talking about originally. Anything it's a slowing down of as we get older, but there's no loss of function in terms of memory.
Okay, so when I'm 12, I can remember every friend's name. I can remember what I did 3 weeks ago. When I'm 40, I forget friends' names. I have to ask you 12 times to tell me your name. And, and I have to think really hard about what I did last week. That's not age. That's, oh my God, I better go get checked out.
That's probably, you have way too many things on your mind at 40 that you're filling up the brain and you're overdoing it. And with also the whole idea of being not mindful of what you're accomplishing or trying to do. You're doing so many tasks things. And, you're not focusing on what you're doing. And that happens at 40, it happens at 60, and it happens at our older people too. As they get older, we think, our kids get out of the house and you're free and easy, but I'll tell you, they're busy with their kids. They're busy with their families, and they're out there, and they're solving problems. So they might have a little bit of that issues too.
So it's not necessarily that somebody's forgetful; it's that they're not being mindful to begin with, and their mind is cluttered. It's funny. I used to be a TV producer. Still a TV producer. I guess once you're a nurse, you're always a nurse. Once you're a TV producer, you're always a producer, right? And I worked with this director a long time ago, and I ran into him about 2 years ago, and we were just talking about some things that happened on the shoot. And he said, for God's sakes, I don't remember what that person's name was. I just tell everybody, memory deleted. And I said, memory deleted. He goes, yes, when you get older, your mind just fills up with all this useless information, and then there needs to be more room for that information. So as you get older, your brain is only this big, so parts of my brain just start to delete like a computer. So whenever somebody asks me something, I go, sorry, memory deleted. And I thought that's a really clever way of thinking about it. So it's not necessarily that you're getting older and you're forgetful. It's that to make room for the new memories, some of the old memories kind of delete or they get pushed back. Is that kind of the way to think about it?
I think that's a great way of thinking about it. It's also, the more you learn, as older people, I've always told everyone, I said, try to learn something new. Every day you're learning something new. So you're opening it up a little bit further and maybe deleting some of the things you don't have to remember, but opening to new information and new ideas and new, So keeping your mind active at every age is so important, which also is important for your sex life, if that's what you choose to do at that age. So.
I know we've been talking about sex a lot in this conversation, but I know it's a question that a lot of people are asking me about. So it's about that time we have to go to our commercial break. But when we get back, we're going to spend a few minutes talking with the nurse here about just the differences between holistic and regular, medical, internal medicine procedures, I guess, how things could happen procedurally. And then we're going to kick it back to David and talk about what's coming up next week. Okay, thank you so much, and stand by.
With Obamacare, it's almost impossible to get comprehensive medical care and information. What if you want to see an acupuncturist or chiropractor? No way, they won't pay. Need a specialist without waiting 3 weeks for a referral? Ask Liz. She provides VIP medical information for the masses. No referral, no marketplace, no hassle. Get on board and stay alive and fit with Liz Goodman. Mondays, 7 p.m. or watch live on amp2.tv and like us on Facebook.
You want me to move it?
Welcome back. We were told by our producer that we need to move our chair slightly so that our listeners and our viewers can see Dr. Sanchez a little bit better. I think I'm looking at the camera now and I can see, there she is.
Here?
Okay, yeah.
Sorry about that.
So sorry if you haven't been able to see us very well. I know you can hear us fine. We've been moving it around a little bit simply because... he said, don't move, we're not moving. We've been moving it a little bit because it's a small studio that we're working in here. And I don't want our listeners or our viewers to only see our side profiles all the time. So we're trying to cheat the camera just a little bit so you can see us when we speak. But if anybody ever wants to call in and talk to any of our medical professionals that are on the air with us, they can call us at 888-565-1470. They can speak to Dr. Sanchez directly or make an appointment to meet with her. If you want to give your telephone number and your address, that would be great.
Address is 5405 Okeechobee Boulevard in West Palm Beach. And our telephone number is 561-697-3131.
So is there anything else that you would like to tell listeners about things they should look out for, self-examinations, or when they should make an appointment, to come and see you? Like, who is the person that you're looking for to treat in your office?
We are taking new patients, of course, and our patient is the one who wants to feel at home in a place where they can call and they can feel like they're going to get the best service. They're going to get that individualized care. They're going to get a responsive person, that they are going to have an open relationship with, that they're going to feel comfortable with. And that's what really my goal is, when a person comes in, that they're talking to someone that they can feel that I'm going to listen, and I'm going to really try to see from their angle how they are feeling in their life, and try to really, really get into their who they are as a person, and feel that they are being well cared for, and all that comes with that, So,
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. Do you have any words of advice for patients to stay healthy or stay fit, that you can give us certain medications or vitamins they should take, or certain things they can do to relieve stress that are more holistic and natural?
Yes, well, definitely. I have four things that people should do. One is to stay as fit and active as possible. So get into an exercise program. Secondly, feed your body. Feed it well. Feed it with, proteins and carbohydrates and vegetables and fruit, and eat those in proportion to what is recommended, and find out what that is. Find out what that means, what kind of good nutrition it is. Third, keep yourself engaged in something. Learn something new every day. Read, learn a new instrument, have a conversation with somebody about something interesting.
To keep your mind sharp.
Yeah, keep your mind sharp. Keep it active. And fourth, be social. Talk to people. Go to that dance. Go to your family events. Go see the children at weddings, or, go out. Get out there and make friends and learn about new people and cultures, and don't stay home and be lonely.
I mean, I think that's such great advice, because I think a lot of people, as we get older, we tend to isolate ourselves. Maybe we're not as happy with ourselves or how we look, or our children left the house, or, we get very self-absorbed, or we get just obsessed with television, or, we don't go out and socialize as much as we did when we were kids. And, I like the fact that you're right in tune with me with stay healthy and stay fit by eating right and exercising. Those are all really important things. And I think the thing that people overlook and forget is they need to exercise their mind. Their mind is another muscle in the body, right? If you don't use it, you lose it. And
that
we
is
use
so
that
true.
term
Yep.
with sex, like don't use it, you lose it. But you use it with your mind too. I remember when I was a kid, one of the things my dad used to do is he would tell me to try to look in the dictionary for a new word every day and try to remember that word. And when my children were babies, now I have a 10 and an 8-year-old, soon to be 9, I used to every day give them a new word. And I somehow forgot about it. Life moved on and I just haven't done it. But this has reminded me that I should do that. And I think everybody who listens to that show should do that. Go online, play puzzles, trick yourself, try to remember things. Just work that muscle in your mind, because that mind muscle is the most important muscle other than the heart that you have in your body.
Absolutely. Words of wisdom, for sure. Words of wisdom. So the more engaged you are in the world, and the more active thinking about things, that's what's going to make you feel healthier and happier, and just generally more satisfied with your life. So by all means, reach out to others and do it.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sanchez. Why don't you tell our listeners one more time how they can get in touch with you?
You can call me, our office, 561-697-3131, and our address is 5405 Okeechobee Boulevard in West Palm Beach.
Awesome. We're going to take a very quick break and be right back with news about what's coming up next week on Stay Alive and Fit. Choo-choo! Come on back.
In today's world, only the elite receive the very best care or advice. Stay Alive and Fit with Liz Goodman is like VIP MD for the masses. Ask Liz medical and fitness questions live on the air. Call us at 888-565-1470 and tell us what you want to learn more about. Tune in for a sneak peek each week from David DePino, PR specialist for Tenet Florida Physician Services, a division of Tenet Health. Dave will tell you breaking medical news prior to its release. Hear it first on Stay Alive and Fit before it hits the presses. So listen for 60 minutes or miss it in a minute. Mondays on Talk Radio WNN 1470 or watch us on amp2.tv.
leave this. We'll talk a little bit. Ah, here we go. We're back on the air. All right. I don't know why I'm being so silly with that whistle today. It's something about it. Hi, Dave.
Hi.
Welcome
Thanks for having me back.
So, as my listeners know, stay alive, stay fit, call in, participate. Please, please, please. We want to hear from you. We want to know what it is you want to learn more about. We want to start gearing towards great recipes, great ideas. We're going to get some chefs on the show. We're going to get some fitness instructors. We're going to get some football coaches. We're going to have great orthopedic surgeons and plastic surgeons and all sorts of great information for you. The idea behind Stay Alive and Stay Fit, or Stay Alive and Fit with Liz Goodman, is that you can call and ask Liz or email Liz at www.stayaliveandfit.com or liz@stayaliveandfit.com, or call 888-565-1470 and tell me what it is you want to learn more about. This is VIP medical and fitness information for everyone. No hassle, no wait, no referrals needed. Just pick up the phone, call us, and get the answers you seek right now. Get on board my train and take a ride, and we're going to get answers to all your medical mysteries. And now I'm back with David, and we're going to talk about what's coming up next week. And I also want to ask David, we only have a few more minutes left, what is the difference between Tenet, Health and Tenet Florida Physician Services? And if a doctor wants to join or become part of Tenet Florida Physician Services, what is it you're looking for?
So the difference is, so Tenet Health is a group of over 100 hospitals, across the globe. Tenet Florida Physician Services is an employed physician group. So we take care of everything from their real estate to their staffing to their PR and marketing, etc. On our website, tfpsdocs.com, there's a little bit about us tab, and it kind of explains it very well, much better than I would be able to.
TSPS, can you say that?
No, TFPS Docs. So TFPSDOCS.com is the easiest way to get to our website.
T for Tenet, F for Florida,
P for physician, S for service. Yeah, it's a long title if you type it in the other way. But so employed physician group, pretty much our doctors put on their lab coats and they go to work, and we take care of everything else, which gives them a lot more time with the patients. They don't have to worry about real estate, staffing, etc.
But who is the doctor? Are you looking for a certain type of doctor to join, or do doctors seek you out because they just want to make their lives easier and they feel like by joining your group they can focus on medicine and not have to worry about the other stuff, and therefore they're better, more equipped to be attentive to their patients? Is that the idea?
Exactly. So we have over 35 specialties. So we're growing so fast. So we're welcoming physicians across all types of medical specialties, from pediatrics to neurology, everything in between. It's ideal for a doctor coming out of fellowship, right out of training, because they don't have to look for real estate, look for staff, etc. It's also ideal.
I'm sorry, when you say look for real estate, do you mean like a place to have their practice or a place to have their home?
No, rent. We do that as well. But, to rent an office building or an office space, to relocate to an area, all of that, is going to take up a lot of time. So it's ideal for right out of fellowship, so a new physician, but it's also ideal for a physician maybe looking to retire in the last few years, wants to wind things down a little bit slowly and cut volume a little bit until they get to that point they can retire. So we take care of everything for them. And then I'd say the other third would be we're bringing in super specialists left and right from all over the globe. We just brought in a structural heart cardiologist. So he comes in, he or she comes in, they're an employed physician. They can concentrate on clinical research, structural heart cardiology, etc., rather than worrying about their practice or their credentialing or hospital affiliations.
You're looking for people with specialties, and you're looking for people that will stand out, and you're giving them the opportunity to stay really focused on their craft, because all the other minutiae you're sort of taking care of.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better. Right there, you got it.
And that's the point, guys, that we're going to sort of get, bring this all down to layman's terms, because like you know, and like my listeners know, I am not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, and the sight of blood makes me squeal. I don't know how you feel about it, Dave, but I am just a gal trying to understand all of this and figure out who it is that I want to go and see when something happens to me. And from everything I've learned about the doctors that I've met the last few weeks and you and just the way the whole Tenet Florida Physician Services group, is run and organized, and the physicians that are a part of it, it makes me really want to seek a doctor out from that group and hope that I am lucky enough to have insurance that would be covered. And ironically, as you know, I'm on Medicaid right now because of I've got 2 small children, and that's I'm with Obamacare, and I lost my insurance recently. So while I'm waiting for the insurance to open up to me for that time period where I have to wait to go through the marketplace and get that right insurance, I'm in that interim plan. And there is a wonderful doctor, I think I mentioned to you, that is part of Tenet Health or Tenet Florida Physician Services that I get to have as my internist. What did I tell you his name was?
Great. No, an internal medicine physician?
Yeah, he's in Del Rey. I can't remember his name, but we're going to talk about him. We're going to try to get him on the show because he's going to be my new physician.
Definitely.
Okay, and next week, quickly?
Next week, May is American Stroke Month, so obviously we want to have a neurologist on. It's also Arthritis Awareness Month, arthritis, and we were talking about having the degenerative bone disease doctor on that you saw today.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Dr. Sanchez. Thanks to my listeners. See you next week.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Stay Alive and Fit with Liz Goodman, a new innovative radio show that taps into what's happening now in the medical industry, featuring fitness experts, foodies, and medical professionals from Tenet Health, with breaking medical news from David DePino. Get it right here and be an active participant in your health. Mixed messages about what is best for your health can make you feel like you're on a runaway train. Get ready to hop aboard again next time for Stay Alive and Fit with Liz Goodman. The opinion